You're live on PM Express here on the JoyNews channel. My name is Evans Minson. Tonight we continue our build up to the 2019 budget and we're asking prospects for industry. This government has said repeatedly that as far as you're concerned, reviving industry and making the subsector grow and develop is a main focus, for which reason they've introduced several policies. The prime among which is the one district, one factory policy. But really, we're seeing a decline in this particular area. And that is why what the 2019 budget says or does will be absolutely important for industry going forward. Now, if you look at the story I was just telling you about, the industry of which manufacturing is a subsector, accounts for about 25.3% of the country's total GDP. This is absolutely significant, by the way. And so you need to get this right. Other than that, you're going to have a problem with issues such as creation of jobs, particularly because this sector can employ a significant chunk of your unemployed population. Now, if you look at the sector's contribution to GDP, it has been on a consistent decline over the years. I mean, for some time now, from say 10.2% in 2006 to 4.5% in 2017. That is a significant drop. You cannot underestimate what this means for things like jobs, particularly for things like income. So even for those who have jobs in this particular area, they're concerned about has incomes dropped in this area? That's a key thing to watch because of the declining growth, consistent declining growth that we've seen in this area. Now, one of the areas as far as industry, manufacturing in general, that has taken the biggest hit yet is the textiles industry. Because the textiles industry, remember, my dad used to work in the textiles industry back in the 80s. He no longer works there. Why? Because you could count about, back in the day, I'm talking about 80s, you could count about, what, 15 textile industries, all the way into the 90s. And then something began to happen. You know, now we have only 3, the research says. What? We have ATL, GTP, and Printex. We're very proud about these. And even for these 3 that we know, from 15 to 3, we are told that they are struggling. And we'll be learning shortly about what is happening to one particular one, ATL, this particular one here. What is happening to it? Because it appears to be in decline quite significantly. Now, if you look at the recent report about scheduled layoffs at ATL, it tells you a story. We're talking about people, more than 1,000 people scheduled to be laid off at ATL. Has that changed, by the way? In fact, this is what prompted tonight's conversation. As we look into the 2019 budget, people are going to lose their jobs. Can the finance minister say anything tomorrow that may change, say anything on Thursday that may change this outcome for the hundreds, perhaps thousands who work at ATL? Can the finance minister do something? And that is something that we'll be watching and discussing tonight. So some key things that we're looking at that many point to, it is contributing to the challenges that we face in the sector. We have high import duty, high production costs, which is a big killer. Less government support, which many have pointed. There's something that I'll demonstrate whilst the conversation is going on, because I found on the GIPC website, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, but also the Ministry for Business Development's website, they say the textiles industry is thriving. In fact, it says in the recent years there's massive growth in the textiles industry, but the reality cannot be further from the truth. So the 2019 budget, how will this document address the challenges that we've just outlined? Are there going to be any incentives for industry? Will the textiles industry, for example, get some incentive? Any reduction in taxes possibly may help. How much will be devoted to 1D, 1F? Now, talking about reduction in taxes, some may say even in the textiles industry, you probably have to increase taxes, not for the local ones, but taxes on imported ones, because apparently that is what is killing our local textiles industry. Can we slap huge tariffs on all the imports coming from China and elsewhere? maybe the finance minister is considering that. I know the people in the textiles industry have been meeting with the trade minister, etc., ahead of the budget. Maybe they've influenced these powerful individuals in Ghanaian society to consider this as they finalize the budget. This conversation is going to be on the road shortly. It affects you because it has implications for jobs and it has implications for this economy. 25% of GDP, it's no joke. Manufacturing, jobs, and industry. Any country that developed on the back of industry. You need to stay with us here on PMSs. When we return from this break, I'll introduce my guest and we'll start interrogating the matters. Stay with us. My guest in the studio with me is Ato Panford. He's a Vice Chairman, Trade and Industry Committee in Parliament. Thank you very much, Mr. Panford, for joining us on PM Express. Also with us tonight is Samuel Ardey. He is a Marketing Manager at Kosombo Textiles Limited. That is ATL, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you
For joining us here on the program. We'll be speaking on the phone and on Skype shortly to Abraham Kumsi. He's a General Secretary, Textiles, Garment, Leather Employers Union. Will join us very shortly on the phone as we begin to dissect these matters. Let me start with you, Samuel. Samuel, tell me the story of ATL. When I was growing up, ATL used to be pride of Akosombo, Ghana, to be more broad about it. What's happening to it? We heard about some job losses that may possibly hit you.
Yes, ATL, as you already know, we are the premium tester.
Is that ATL, by the way?
Yes, this is ATL.
What you're wearing?
Yes.
You manufactured it locally?
Yes, manufactured it locally with cotton from the north.
Okay.
And then we are the only vertically integrated company in Ghana.
Okay.
So we buy cotton from the north or from Burkina Faso, and then we process it, spin.
I really wish I had won something like that. You know, my producer should take me. Next time should. So just allowed him to bring me some cloth from ATL.
Yeah, I think next time you're
I want it proudly, just to make a point. And Mr. Panford is also nicely dressed in. Which one is this one?
You know, this is GTP.
This is GTP.
Yeah.
Okay, GTP is also another industry that we'll talk about shortly. Yeah. And so we are patronizing that, at least both of you have.
Yes.
But the story is not as rosy as your nice outfit shows.
Yes. As I told you, with ATL, we are the only vertically integrated company in Ghana. We buy cotton from the north or from Burkina, and then we process, spin, weave, and then print. We've had a few challenges. We've been in existence for 51 years.
51 years?
Yeah, so we've
been a long time.
Yeah, so we've been around for a while. So we've had some challenges in the last 8 years or so. But currently, things are improving. We have a strategy going forward. There has been a turnaround. Fortunately, as part of the 1D, 1F, where local industries that are in distress is helped by the government, we've been able to receive some funding. So there's a turnaround which we are going to try to get more designs, invest in more capital assets so that we can be more competitive.
You said you had some challenges. What are these challenges? What was the problem?
Okay. One of the challenges, the key one we have is energy cost, which is about 40% of our cost. Electricity is about 40% of our cost. So you can imagine where we are. But earlier in the year, there was a reduction in the energy. Secondly is cotton. Cotton we are getting is not enough. Cotton supplies.
Where do you get your cotton?
Some from the north and some from Burkina Faso.
So you're importing cotton?
Yeah, importing cotton.
I thought we had enough cotton locally. No,
the cotton available locally is not enough for ATL and other textile companies.
So how much cotton do you get locally and how much you have to import?
We get about only 20% of our cotton locally.
Only 20%?
Yep.
Wow.
Only 20% of our cotton.
Why is that? Is it because the local cotton producers see there's no market? So why should anybody invest in expanding production? Because this is ATL. I think there are just other two, GTP and which one is it? Is it Printers?
Printers, yeah.
Printers. So you guys are small. So why should I invest in having a plantation when you can buy? Is that what it is? What is the problem?
Yeah, I think it's about the money they make from that, because the cotton is based on the world market price, and basically they don't find it more beneficial like other products that they like tomatoes, like pepper and others that they plant. So basically you have less cotton farmers there in the north.
Okay. So you're importing up onto like as much as 75–80% of your raw material from Burkina Faso.
Yeah, cotton, which is the key raw material for us. We importing it.
But that will cost you a lot. That even adds to the problem.
Yes, that adds to the problem. And with that as well, then comes the exchange risk, because you're having to buy the cotton in dollars. And when at this moment the CD to dollar is about 4,
becomes a big problem.
Yeah. So that's one of another challenge that we are facing. And then the most important one at the moment is the market risk we have with the influx from China. Textiles coming into the market that duties have not been paid, and imitations and copies of local textiles vis-a-vis which are on the market. The Ghanaian market currently have about 140 million yards usage of textiles.
Okay.
The 3 manufacturing companies are only 730 million of that 140 million yards.
Only that is significant, by the way, in terms of, I mean, significantly less than what you should get in terms of the challenge with what you mentioned, because from what I hear, your industry is struggling, and as you mentioned, a lot of the imports are coming in from China. And I know you've been meeting with the sector minister on this. Why hasn't it been fixed? Because I know he met you last week. I saw last week or last 2 weeks.
Yes.
He met you guys and promised that a lot is going to be done in this particular area.
Yes. When we had a meeting with the minister, we agreed that there's going to be the introduction of the tax stamp, which we believe will lead to.
We've talking about this tax stamp for ages.
Yes, but there has been a time lapse even because of going back and forth with the LI and all that. But we are hoping that come the end of this month, the tax stamp for the textile industry will take place. And we believe that will lead to a level playing field. And we also think that with the inflows that are coming, that duties and levies are not paid on that. Now they'll come to one single port as being propagated by the minister, that we'll have a single port of entry, which is Tema. So all textiles are going to come to Tema, and we are assured that once that is done, there will be a control process of the textiles coming in, and then the necessary duties and levies will be paid, and then the prices of the ones coming from Asia will come a little bit up once that taxes, which is about 69%, is added onto the price of their product. For instance, at ATL, when you...
So you're going to slap, what, 69% taxes on imported textiles?
That is already there. Okay. About 69.84% on imported textiles. But currently, all the ones that are coming from Asia are coming to our porous borders.
So it doesn't attract the tax?
Yeah, they are not paying the necessary taxes. So if you go to the market right now, you find a product from Asia which is going for 50 cedis, and that from ATL is going for 90 cedis. So if you slap that tax, it comes to Tema, and the necessary taxes are put on, then that vis-a-vis, that will be about 85 Ghana cedis. So there will be a price difference of about 5 or 10 cedis. Then a consumer can look to decide based on quality of the product, based on the design of the product, based on other attributes of the product that we are selling.
But this is a fascinating story about we've had a China problem, but this solution with the tax stamps, and I'll come to you, Mr. Panford, shortly, because I know your committee has been dealing with this problem for a while. and the recent directive that all imports textiles should come to the Tema port, would that fix the problem? Because, as you said, the problem is the illegal routes. It's not the port, is it?
Yeah, the problem is the illegal routes. But once everyone have to import through Tema port, it means that any fabrics or textiles that are coming through the other routes will have to be confiscated and seized.
Yeah, but
and then it makes it easy.
They'll be smuggled in.
Yeah,
nobody's going to carry that thing on his head and go to the port so that you seize it. They'll smuggle them in, which is what they've always done. Or bribe somebody at one of those unapproved routes, and they don't get into a market in a way.
Yeah, usually that is where it goes through. They're going to try to get it in, but then it makes it easy for the security agencies or for customs, or that once they find that you have the fabrics, that means that you are doing the wrong thing. So you're going to get the right thing to be done, and that brings in the task force as well, because the task force will have the right to enforce that. So anytime, anywhere they find the fabrics coming in to the unapproved routes, then the task force can work. But invariably, the task force also needs resources to work. Yeah. They need resources to be able to deliver on their mandate going forward. And another solution that could be is the import management committee that the ministry wants to set up. Yeah. What it means is that any textiles you want to import into the country needs to go through that IMC. And with the IMC, they're going to vet, they're going to have a platform where all manufacturers in Asia are going to be on that platform, and you have to be able to buy through the platform. So it makes it easier for control, for measures to be put in place to avoid the...
And yet, we hear about the dire situation the textiles industry finds itself in, Mr. Panford. Yeah. We've neglected this sector, have we not? I mean, I did the statistics, and if you look at the statistics we put up, we have 15 textiles companies. Yeah. When we're growing up, we grew up on Ghana textiles. I mean, when our mothers and that's what they grew up on. My father used to work in the textiles industry. But there are no more. They're left with 3. From 15, we have systematically collapsed our textiles industry. Yeah. Clearly, what is wrong is what is laid out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Evans. You know, I think, Mr. Minister, there are critical things that we need to watch as a nation. Yeah. And then I'm quite happy that we're trying to find some solutions to it through some of these strategies that the Minister of Trade and Industry is trying to propagate and then try to enforce in there. I think I've been an industrial person, from AGI, being the vice president for AGI for some time, and then we've been advocating and then making sure that we'd put pressure even on government to make sure that at least we create the enabling environment, and then some equal platform for able to allow our local industries to compete better with even some of these incoming imports and etc. I believe that it's about time, and then engagements with current government are going on smoothly to be able to look at things that needs to be done. I remember some time ago, it was okay, let's do the exports, imports of textile through Takrady. Now we realize, it should be Tema and etc. But then we need to fine tune all these, structures very well to be able to get the impact. And I'm quite happy that this tax stamp is come in, and then it is going to solve, if not all, at least some percentage, quite sizable of it.
Hasn't it haven't you been implementing this for at least a few months now?
When
was it introduced, by the way? Just to clarify, Mr. Panford.
Yes, I think it's. Do you know? Last year, we passed a law last year. Yeah. And then some of the
for water.
For water.
Beverages.
So
I've seen the beverages.
We keep on adding. Now you see all drinking water.
Yes, they have the stamp on the cup.
And now we move into the textiles and sort of to make sure that we sanitize the textile systems in terms of how these products and other products comes in. Virtually, if you produce it up, then you need to get a tax from GRA and make sure that your products are recognized and you pay the appropriate tax stamp on it. But I think it's going to help a bit in terms of that. Now the next thing that we should be watching in terms of industry, how to make them a bit competitive in terms of the foreign products coming in, is to look at some of the sectors like energy and look at cost of finance in terms of doing business, and also look at how labor and manpower are used efficiently. Recently, I think, was it last year or something, we visited, ATL, and then we had an engagement from Parliament. We had good engagement with them. We listened to them carefully. We saw their
I mean ATL?
Yeah, ATL,
because they were really on the verge.
Yeah, yes.
You were. I mean, because I remember 2 weeks ago, some of your workers were complaining that if nothing is done urgently, you probably have to close shop and lose, what, 1,500 workers? Is that where you were?
Yeah, we didn't reach that stage, but then you did have some employees who felt uncomfortable with how the situation was going on. But currently, everything is on course. We are even looking at our production schedule to move from 2 shifts to 3 shifts.
I'll interrogate that about everything is on course. I doubt if everybody will agree with what you're saying that everything is on course. But let me hear Mr. Panford. You said you think you had them.
Yeah.
And how long ago was this when you met them?
Oh, not too quite long.
Yeah, last year.
Last year, we took an industrial tour, visited most of the companies, distress companies.
What did you observe when you did the tour?
Yeah, when we went there, in fact, we noticed some 3 key issues, which was tooling issues in terms of the machinery equipment issues, also the cost of finance, and then a company which has just come from an area where you have energy challenges, a lot of power offs and etc. So you find a lot of productivity going down with costs, getting up. So some of these were the key challenges that we realized, was there. But the most critical thing is that the competition, the unfair competition from these import products, flooding on the market. Every business will survive based upon your market opportunities. And so if there are unfair practices there, that means you stand at a huge risk. So I believe that one of the key things that we need to solve for ATL is to look at the market dynamics, where we have to make sure that government should set in and put in some policies, deliberate policies, let me say that, to be able to help our local industries like this textile industries. And of course, one of the steps are these tax stamps to make sure that we try and then protect our industries a little bit. We can't do it openly and totally, but then there must be some deliberate consciousness, some kind of trajectory to make sure that we see things happening to promote our local industries. Yeah. For me, apart from the tax issues, on 15th, we're going to be reading or listening to the budget statements, and the economic policies. There should be stimulus packages to support some of these industries, because they are our pride. If you look at not only the bottom line numbers, but the socioeconomic impacts that it makes in terms of workforce and etc., like you just mentioned. If you find about 1,500 workers going home, then it must translate into something huge down the line. So we try to keep that balance. So the viability of a whole industry or a whole business doesn't really matters on how fat the margins are, etc., but how sustainable the whole thing will be able, the whole project will be able to run.
You make a point about expectations of the 2019 budget, with possibly some outlining of incentives. I'll ask you what specific incentives you're hoping for. But Samo, you say that everything is on course now.
Yeah.
But this is just 2 weeks ago that we had your workers complaining that you're almost on your knees at ATL. I mean, what is it that has changed within 2 weeks that's making you so happy?
That story 2 weeks ago wasn't the right story. Of course, we've been working for the past 3 months. We've been working very well. We received the stimulus from government.
What is the stimulus?
We received some money.
How much is it?
I don't have the figure right yet. So we've received.
But you've seen the money?
Yes, and we've started using it.
To do what exactly?
We've invested some in machinery. Well, we've invested some in.
You've already purchased the new machinery?
Some, new machinery. And then we've also invested some in raw materials and others that we are getting to do. Basically, so we've been going on. We are working. The factory is running, and production is going on. If you talk to employees or you visit the factory now and you talk to our employees, they will tell you everything is okay. Everything is okay. Production is going on. We are now trying to move from a 2-shift to a 3 shift.
That's good.
And we're doing that because we are looking at, because of the lack of cotton, we're going to do just buy the gray and do the printing and dyeing. So what it means is that we're going to do what GTP and Printers does. They are into only printing and dyeing. And for now, for us to be able to stabilize everything, then we get those in the spinning and weaving session to join the other session of printing and dyeing. In other words, that's where we are going to move to the 3 shifts system with them joining that.
So the 3 shifts, are you going to employ more people?
After we finish with the training for what we are doing, the spinning and weaving, somewhere in January, we should look at recruiting more people to join. So as part of...
so the ATL is looking at recruiting more people to join the staff you already have, the
yes,
staff strength.
That's what we are.
What is your staff strength?
Currently, we are about 1,000 employees.
1,000 employees?
Yeah.
How many more are you looking to employ?
That I don't have the figure with me, but we are looking at employing more in January, once we've been able to stabilize the situation based on the turnaround we are doing with the stimulus that we've received.
Okay. You explained that you want to move away from the cotton because it's of its lack of, it's not there.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's not there, you have to import, which is going to, put a huge dent in your pocket. And so you're moving in to just do the tie and, is that the tie and dye you said?
No, we're just going to do the printing and then dyeing.
And dyeing, printing and dyeing.
You know,
what does it mean exactly? Because I need to picture it in my head.
Okay.
So what? You have a fabric.
So with textiles, when you get the cotton, when you buy the cotton, you spin and weave the cotton. Then you can get something like this.
Yeah.
Then you print and then you
the
print
designs,
etc. on it. So we're going to do away with the first part temporarily. We're not
so
going
the
to
first part is where you weave the cotton into actual fabric.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're now going to stop weaving cotton into fabric.
Yes.
Okay. In place of that, you do what?
We're going to buy the actual gray cloth, and then we'll print and dye.
So you buy cloth. This will be a plain cloth.
Not necessarily. It's a cotton material. We call it grey baft.
Okay.
It's
called grey baft.
Yeah,
grey baft. Okay.
It's called grey baft.
Yeah,
so you're going to buy the grey baft, and then you're going to bleach, and then you're going to bleach the grey.
And then you put your own designs.
Then you're going to do the
where do you get the grey baft?
The grey baft for instance, we can get grey baft from Japan. Yeah, JTL.
Okay, this is a Ghanaian factory.
Yeah, Ghanaian factory.
Okay.
So what it is that they will import their cotton, and then they will spin and weave for us.
Produce the baft.
Yes.
The grey baft, and then you buy the baft from them.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you going to? Okay, yeah, go on.
So once we do that, what it means is that because we want to turn around quickly in the interim, we're going to have to do more overtime. So instead of overtime, we move the staff that would have been at the spinning and to this session. So as a result of that, some of the staff felt that, okay, if they go to that session and they are not able to make it, then that might lead to
job losses.
But that is not the case. There's not going to be any job losses, but rather we are going to add to the numbers. Rather we are going to do more recruiting more staff come next year.
Okay. Now, but the reason I was asking you, it's fascinating for me. I mean, so you're saying that in fact all the 3 textile manufacturing industries in Ghana, I mean, with the exception of yourself, we're all doing just the printing, the grey baft and the printing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're also going to join them, right?
Temporarily.
Temporarily. Are you certain that you can get all the grey baft you need from Japan? Yes. Or you might have to import grey baft already?
No, we are certain we can get most from them.
The other 2 companies, I think that's Printers and GTP. Do they get it from Japan?
No, they import them.
They import the grey baft already made, okay. But you don't want to import?
We don't want to import, but it's something that we could consider going forward.
Importing. But that's what I'm driving at. If they import, and you might import too, you're importing from where? China?
If we're going to for instance, in Pakistan, the cotton, the grade that they get, they buy it from Burkina Faso.
Ah.
So if Pakistan is buying
Pakistan is buying grey bath from Burkina Faso.
No, they are buying cotton from.
They are buying cotton from Burkina Faso
to process it.
And if you go to the north, we seem to have the same climate with Burkina Faso.
Exactly.
And yet, Burkina Faso is producing all this huge volumes of cotton that the world is coming to buy.
Right. So this is an opportunity for
we can produce on our own
for us to produce on our own, for the country to give certain stimulus to the agricultural farmers, the cotton farmers,
to produce
more cotton. And then
Pakistan is buying cotton from Burkina Faso. And you might I would just point, you might buy the grey bath from elsewhere if you have to import.
Yeah, but we could buy it from elsewhere or get as part of the government trying to get companies from China and Pakistan and Bangladesh to set up factories here.
Yeah.
So if they can't set up, they
have to buy from them.
A manufacturing plant here, then they can get a cotton from Burkina straight away, and then they can print for us, so that we can have the grey bath.
I see. This is all fascinating. The reason why I kept on probing, and I'll come to you shortly, is eventually, if the Chinese guys are going to give you the grey bath, you see why they will then produce the fabric and bring to you. Do you get the point I'm making?
So
I mean, if you have the factory here and you go to get a grey bath and come and print on it and sell to me.
Yeah. So the direction we are moving is temporarily we are going to get Dwapon to do that for us.
Yeah.
And then when we stabilize, we go back to buying the grey bath.
Your other competitors in the GTP and others are possibly buying the grey bath from China.
There's a possibility I can speak for.
Or elsewhere.
Yeah.
And my question remains that if that is the case, then why should the Chinese guy who is producing the grey bath for you simply not bring the thing on it, come and look at this fantastic thing you wear, and put the marks on it and sell it to you?
Yeah. So once like
why should he give you the raw material when I can finish it? And because that will be add value.
So just like Honorable said.
Yeah. Let me help you.
Once the market.
Today. We're in a long meeting, on IP issues, intellectual property issues.
Okay.
That's one of the key tools that, as a nation, we should be able to build on to protect our intellectual works.
Property.
Yes, works. And then you see a lot of them, pirating all these patterns and then motifs and etc. Designs that these companies have taken their time and that sort of thing to create out of our folklore, history, and etc. But then, if we don't protect that, that's the first thing, we're exposed. You don't have anything to call your own. Yeah. And so they just can come in.
Newsflash, China does it to everybody. They're doing it to US. Trump is complaining bitterly. They're stealing intellectual property from across the globe. So you are tiny little Ghana, a drop in the ocean. It can't stop.
But even, Mr. Mason, you see, the issue is that it is best to get yourself closed than being so much exposed in industry and in business. So apart from running your industry and business agenda, there are certain laws and necessary that you need to put in place to protect the industry. For that is these are
from
the
an intellectual property point of view.
Even if I'm a business person and I come to set up a business here, the first thing that I'll try to look at is what are the laws around?
Yeah.
What are the laws that favors me to be able to promote my industry here? So these are key fundamentals. But if these are not there, and I think these are the key things that the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and I thank Honorable Kojuala and Shematin so much with the relationship that they are building up. For last year, we took that sort of serious, report, and then also try to mitigate the issues on ATL, and then these are the things that resulted in the part of the stimulus being as they applied, etc. We have to be deliberate on certain decisions in this nation, and that we need to be there to help and support local industries for them to. And then with this Burkina producing
I want you to hold it there, because that is something I want to hear your thoughts on, because I find this is Burkina Faso, same climate that encourages and fuels the growth of cotton.
Sure.
And yet we are failing to produce cotton. Our manufacturers are going to Burkina Faso to buy it. It's just across the border. Let me bring in Mr. Abraham Kumsin, the General Secretary, Textile, Garment and Leather Employees Union. Hello, Mr. Kumsin.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. here on PM Express. We're just hearing from Samuel Hermans Ardey, who's a marketing manager of Akosomo Textiles Limited. He says ATL is no longer in trouble and that they've turned the corner because government has given them a stimulus. And so the fear of job losses have subsided and they are in fact looking to employ more hands next year. Isn't that good news? Because I know you've been campaigning on this for a while.
It's very good news. Provided what they are saying will materialize. We'll all be very happy.
What do you know about the ATL story, by the way? I know you've done a lot on this. What do you know about the ATL story?
Oh, the challenges they have is, I would say, very huge challenges. Not only ATL, ETP has the same problem, Printex, the same thing. And I've been monitoring what you've been saying. I think that it appears you know more than some of us even know. Because the questions that you put out there very accurate and get to the point. And your guests, they're also doing very well. I only pray that all that they have said, will come to pass. That would be good for everybody.
Are you aware of the government stimulus that was given to ATL?
Oh yeah, I'm aware.
Do you know how much?
Aware,
do you know how much it was?
Come again.
Do you know how much it was?
Oh yeah, I know. 17,000 Ghana cedis.
17 million or 17,000? Because I can afford 17,000, I would have given to ATL to survive.
17 million or something like that.
17 million.
17 something, yeah.
17 million, okay.
And that is good. But you see, the problem that the industry faces is the pirating, like my friend said,
Yeah.
the pirating, counterfeiting, and all that. So no matter what, if they give them even quadruple of this money, and the pirating, the smuggling activities are not checked, I can assure you that the money will go waste. That one is a fact. It will be unfortunate that this happens, but if they don't address the fundamental, the basic challenges facing the industry, all they have said is good. I'm happy that they are able to stick to things that they have said. But I have my fears. I have my fears. I've worked in the industry since 1971. I know how the industry rose, and now they have nosedived, and they have almost crashed. So, if something is lifting them up, then they should be sure that all these challenges that brought them down are addressed. Otherwise, these all that said may not materialize.
Now, your main concern has to do with the influx of the pirated materials and the cheap imports from China, etc. We've heard about the tax stamp, and ATL is confident that the tax stamp will go a long way to fix the problem, and a directive that all textile imports should come exclusively through the Tema port. Sure. What do you make of that? Isn't that a solution to the problem?
It will not. I'm telling you, it will never address the problem.
Why?
This is not the first time these measures are being introduced. The single corridor and all that. They have done it before, and it didn't work.
Why didn't it work?
You see, the thing is that if you restrict import, for instance, if you have, a signpost or whatever, this is one way, don't pass there, don't pass this road, use this one, this is one way, and you don't monitor the traffic, People may ignore, but I know sometimes people, who are not disciplined, they don't care. They will use the one way and go and go to wherever they want to go. So if you don't monitor, if you don't police these places, and you think that the road signs are there, and you expect that people will comply, they will not.
So what you're saying is that it's not enough to impose the tax stamps and direct imports through one port, monitor the illegal routes and the other unapproved routes that people use to bring the goods into the country.
Exactly. Even when Honorable Chimatin announced this at their town hall meeting about 2 weeks ago, the women openly protested. They opposed it. Said, no way, we will not comply with that. They told him. They quarreled with Honorable Chimatin and his team that they will never. But yes, but the Honorable insisted that that's what is going to happen.
So what, the women were insisting that they would import it, they will smuggle it in, or what, bring it in?
They will use all unapproved routes to bring this product into the country.
I see.
That's what they said, yes. And so that's why we used to have this task force, which was doing the work of monitoring and policing and arresting and then, dealing with these people who are breaking the rules. But as we speak now, there is no such task force in place. The task force is dead. There's no task force. So if you go out there and announce that, look, this route, nobody should use it, and you just go sleep, and they will still use it. Look, I have traveled, I have gone to Aflau several times, monitoring, and we were checking these, smuggling and people who are into such, illegal activities. It was very risky, but we're doing it. And we follow them up to the point of sales and make sure that, those guys, people are arrested. So you come and you say that no, because, the task force is creating a lot of problems, causing fear and panic in the market, and so no, stop it. Meanwhile, you are only verbally saying that do not use this route, and then you go to your office to go and then rest. Yeah. You expect that people will comply.
Well, Mr. Kumsi, I'm grateful that you joined us. You're not Secretary of the Textile Garment and Leather Employees Union. We'll take a short break. When we return, I'll get my guests in the studio to react to what we just heard there. Stay with us. Well, as we build up to the 2019 budget, tonight we're having a conversation about manufacturing industry and jobs. And we've talked a lot about the textiles industry. And I guess the textiles industry is a representative of what is happening in the industrial front generally. And well, as we've been hearing in the studio, there is measures to fix this, but also there's a different view coming from Mr. Abraham Kumsi, and I want to get quick reactions to on Mr. Panford. What he says there is a directive, but if you don't monitor, you're not going to achieve much because people will still use. And he says at the event when the trade minister announced it, the market women who really drive this business told him in the face that, listen, this is not something that we'll respect.
Yeah. Thank you, Evans. I think what we must note is that, there should be a transition point to make sure that we also get a tax stamp implementation in place, and etc. Now, the women, I will understand the women, and that because most of them have huge stocks. I'm talking about what they've imported into the country are huge. Yeah. And so the difficulty will come in, how do they then, dispose of those kind of... So the sense of worry is there, but then let me emphasize that from the minister's point of view, it is not only just the tax stamp, but also the monitoring.
Is there monitoring?
Yes, there's going to be a team. In fact, it's already there in the ministry. They have it there.
But Mr. Kusi says there's no tax force to implement this.
No,
the tax force is
it's
dead.
been there. You see, but then, at a point when you're going to have this transition, introducing this tax stamp and etc., that sort of thing. So it is there for them to implement it up and then go onto the market and to the borders to check all these sort of things, whether they are coming from the right point and etc. So if you go onto the market, in fact, the imitated, patterns and etc. are so close that it would be difficult for you to identify.
To spot. That is
so
why
if you don't have these stamps and then like the holograms sort of thing for you to be able to identify that, oh, this is the real GTP or this is the real ATL, then you have a difficulty.
Yeah.
So that is what
ahead of Thursday, you've talked about your expectation that there should be some form of incentive.
Yeah.
For the industry. What incentive exactly are you looking at?
I think still for industry, I think where we saw, I think there's a third budget that this our government is going to present to the whole nation, and then if we look at coming from last year's budget, we saw the stimulus package, and then certain economic policies in the direction of how to promote our industries. And then here I want to say that all the captains of industry must be expecting something in there.
But for you, what's your own expectation on the Trades and Industry Committee?
Yes, we expect that there should be, yes, there will still be some stimulus packages, and then this 1D, 1F issues, I think we're going to propagate it more, because this is a time that we're going to see a lot of infrastructure things happening in the budget, and then also industry is going to have a good push within the budget. So I would say let us expect more, but then it will depend upon how we also utilize the policies within all these sort of areas in terms of the industry that we're looking up to. Yeah.
Samuel, what's your expectation of the budget on Thursday, knowing what you know in your industry now? And don't just speak for ATL. If you look at the industry generally, what do you expect the finance minister to say that can help you?
Okay, one of the things that we are expecting within the industry is that either the VAT is reduced or it's waived for textile prints.
Okay.
For a period.
Textile print. What is that?
For textiles.
Textile.
Locally manufactured textiles.
How much is it now? How much is the VAT?
The VAT is the normal 12.5 plus. Yeah. So if that is waived temporarily for maybe a year or two, to give the local companies a bit of competitive advantage to what is coming from China, so that our selling price can come a little bit down. Another option would be to, if the expectation would be if the corporate taxes is reduced. That
for you, for the industry,
for the industry, and another thing that we could expect from the budget is if, for instance, going forward, energy cost is looked at. So once we have the energy cost coming down, or some concessions for importing of raw materials from importing raw materials into the country, that. Yeah, basically that's that.
Okay, that's what you're expecting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful that you joined us. Fascinating insight into the way your business works, and I'm expecting some prints. So the next time when I sit on the radio, I guess on Thursday, when the minister is reading his, I'll be proudly wearing my textiles print to promote Made in Ghana. I guess that's one of the most important things, Made in Ghana, promoting it, because we have a setting appetite for everything imported, and I guess that's part of the reason why you're struggling. Is that they say this one is from Holland. I remember my parents used to, people take pride in buying the printed fabric from Holland. They said, this is Holland, this is whatever. Where else do they come from?
And ABC from Manchester.
You used to get stuff from Holland into Ghana?
Yeah, there's stuff
and they
from
like the local prints, so this is also pirated from Holland?
No, they have original coming from Holland, which GTP imports from Blisco.
Yeah.
Blisco from Holland, which is in, and then when you go on the market, there are pirated ones.
As well.
Pirated ones.
It's also been pirated.
They call Holland in Cotonou.
Yeah, you can blame the Chinese.
Yes.
That's what's happening across the world. But that's it for our show tonight. If you want to join us tomorrow, because tomorrow is another very interesting conversation about the free senior high school policy. Can the 2019 budget carry the burden? You don't want to miss that conversation, because we have people who understand this from the ministry, from the GES, who will be speaking to us about how much it's going to cost us in 2019 to fund the first, second, and third years of the free SHS. That's going to happen for the very first time since the policy was introduced. Fascinating insights that you don't want to miss. Stay with us on JoyNews channel because, of course, my colleagues will come your way with sports and Aisha Ibrahim later on in the evening. My name is Evans Mins. Enjoy the rest of your evening.